Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So again, my name is Donnie. First, uh, thank you for being with me again here. I haven't really uploaded any videos in the past 3 months. It has been quite busy. My job requires me a lot in the past 3 months because it's actually our peak season for conducting trainings here in the Philippines. So I hope you guys are doing fine. Okay, your Excel files are doing okay. So anyway, for those who have been asking questions through the comment section, thank you so much. And I hope that I can find time to answer all of them. I've actually been trying to answer as many questions as I can. For those I haven't answered yet, I hope I can answer them soon, okay, for you guys. But for now, I think it's time to move on. And let's start with creating a new video for today. So today's quite special for me because I actually wanted to join Mr. Beast's TeamWater initiative, wherein he plans to provide safe drinking water to those who do not have access to it, and he needs to raise some funds in order to do that. So for today, this video is actually in support of that and of that campaign, and I'm going to do this by creating a video that is all about how to use Power BI in order to see the trend when it comes to the access to safety water in the world. So that's how I'm going to do it. And for those who are already interested to send their donations to the fundraising event, you can use the description below and donate, okay, in order to help, okay, as many people as possible have access to safe drinking water. So I guess it's time to start with the video about Power BI. So I downloaded my data, okay, from the internet, of course, and it's from the World Bank Open Database. So based on my research, so this website sort of like have data to different situations across the globe. And one of the data that I managed to get from their website is they have this data set of people using safely managed drinking water services, okay, which is going to show the percentage of population who have access to safe drinking water for the past years. So I already went ahead and downloaded the data, and this is what it looks like. So just to show you, it's a lot of data that we have here. Okay, some of them are actually quite repetitive, but the most important one, I guess, is this column here, wherein it shows us the percentage, okay, that country, going to one row here that has the country name or the location name, area name, the percentage, okay, of access to water for every year. So the coverage, okay, is here based on the time period, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use this data set in order to generate the dashboard in Power BI in order to learn how to create a line chart, okay? And in this line chart, we're going to uh, create a forecast. Okay, we're going to see how the next few years will be in terms of access to water, okay, for these countries. So I'm going to close this now, and I'm now going to open my Power BI, of course. So of course, we have to get the data first. So with that, I'm going to click on Get Data, and then of course, I'm going to select the type of data set that I'm going to connect to, and that would be, in this case, text CSV. And then you have to locate the file that you need to load into Power BI. So I already have it here in my downloads folder. It's CSV. Click open. And as usual, you will be tasked to determine whether you want to directly load the data to Power BI or use Power Query in order to model or change how the data set looks like. Now the thing is, this data has a lot of columns that are actually quite repetitive, and we don't really need them in our forecast. So with this, we're going to go to transform. Okay, let me make my screen here smaller. So now that my Power Query is loading, so what you will see here is the data set that we have in Power Query. Now the thing is, I don't really need all of this, and again, you want to really remove anything that doesn't really won't really be used in the data. So in this case, I'm going to just select those that I need, and that is going to be the area name, and then I also need the year, okay, which is under, okay, time period column, and finally the column of the values. And those are the three columns that I need. So what I'm going to do now is go to Home and go to Remove Columns, and I'm going to remove other columns. So only the selected columns will be retained by my Power Query. So remove other columns, and now I have all this data set, okay, all the columns that I need for my report. I'm now going to go to Home and go to Close and Apply in order to load this data into Power BI. So while Power BI is loading, just to give you an idea, so the forecast that Power BI can perform readily is the exponential smoothing method, wherein you use it if you have large data set and you want to predict a longer time frame. Now, if you only have like a few data set, then you may want to use regression analysis. And unfortunately, Power BI doesn't really have regression analysis readily available, at least yet. So what Power BI has readily available is exponential smoothing. If you have a smaller data set, you may want to just use Excel for that and use regression analysis, and that's what the next video will be all about. Now, what we're going to do is, in order to create a forecast in Power BI, is you have to create a line chart. Unfortunately, as of writing, only line chart has a support for forecast, which, well, somehow makes sense, because if you want to create a forecast, it means you have to create a trend, and in order to see a trend, you must have dates, right? And dates are best shown visually using line charts in order to see the rise and the decline of it. So I've produced a typical basic line chart, and after we have our typical basic line chart, of course, we're going to load in the data from the data fields. So I'm going to put on the y-axis, okay, the values. So I'm going to drag obs value here and drag it to the y-axis. And then, of course, it's not going to be complete without the time measurement, okay, on the x-axis, and that's going to be the time period. So I'm going to drag the time period and drag it here in the x-axis. And now we have the line chart showing the yearly trend, okay, of the values. However, this is sum, and we don't really need the sum for every year. So what we need is the average. So I'm going to change the y-axis into the average, okay, calculation, and now we have the average of this. However, as you can see, Power BI sort of like automatically calculated what the lowest value is and the highest value of my averages. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to go to Format Your Visual, and then I'm going to identify or look for y-axis here. And for the range, I'm going to change the auto into 0 so that the Power BI y-axis starts at 0. And I'm also going to change the maximum value to 100 so that it is always 0 to 100, whatever the case may be. So now I have this averages, but the thing is, this is sort of like a world average, okay, for every year. And I want to see like for every country. So for that, I may want to put a slicer in my report. So I'm going to go back here in format your add data to your visual tab. And for that, since there are a lot of countries in the report, as you see, maybe the best way is to create a drop down somewhere here on the left, and the person can choose the country from the drop down and just derive or choose the country, and this line chart should update. And in order to do that, I have to create a slicer. Now, don't get confused with slicer if you already know this in Excel. The thing is, this slicer here is has more features compared to an Excel slicer. Don't confuse this as well with the button slicer here. This is a newer version of the slicer. However, this one doesn't have drop downs. It's only limited to just buttons. And the thing is, you don't want the buttons of all the countries in the report. So maybe a drop down would do. So I have to use the older slicer tool that Power BI has. So I'm going to click that. And now I have this small area to put my field. And for this slicer, I'm going to bring in the area name. So make sure you click on the area where the slicer is, and then drag the ref area name or whatever data that you have you want to be in the drop down, and drag that in the field here. So now I have this list of countries. That's why I told you it's better maybe to create a drop down, okay, if you want. Okay, not buttons. You can change how this looks like. You can go to format your visual, go to slicer settings, and instead of doing a vertical list, maybe use drop downs if you want to sort of like save some space on the left side and just drop it down whenever needed. So whichever works for you. But for now, I'm going to bring it back to the list approach, okay, the vertical list approach, so that I could easily scroll and just check, okay, whatever country that I want. So because this data is from the same data set, you don't have to create any modeling, so I just have to check, and as you can see, the report updates. Okay, so from right here we can see that some countries are almost 100% with their access to water, which is good. However, based on my observation of the data set, of course there are some countries who still, or which still doesn't have, okay, 100%. And that is actually why Mr. Beast launched a campaign on this, because looking at this, we actually are averaging at 60K and around in 2020 to 71%. So meaning still there's a lot of people, 30% of the world still don't have access to water. So to usable water, I mean. So I'm going to show you maybe some other countries here just to see how some countries are actually quite low. So let's say Myanmar, the average is below 60. So which is actually quite low. So meaning almost less than 40% of the population has access to drinkable water. So we now have our chart here, and with this we saw how water is not really accessible to everyone. It's a basic necessity, yet it's not everyone has it. Now going back to Power BI, let's put the forecast. Now for this, we're going to click the line chart, and in order to create a forecast, a readily available tool is you have to go to this button here, wherein it allows you to create analytics. Now there are many options here. You can use a trend line, a minimum line, maximum line, averaging, and so on. But the forecast one is right here, and take note that this chart, line chart, is the only one that can produce this option. If I change to a different kind of chart, even if it's just I'm going to drag a value in the y-axis, let's say for the sake of showing it, I'm going to drag a value in the y-axis, and the forecast button actually disappears. So that's one thing that you have to take note of, that forecast button is only applicable if you have a single line, a single y-axis to create a forecast on, which actually makes sense. Whenever you see these kinds of forecasts, it's usually just one line because that's what you're forecasting. And with that, it will then show you what the forecast will be. So all you have to do is switch on the forecast, and now you have this forecast line showing up here. Okay, so you can see the options available here, wherein we have here the forecast length, which corresponds to the number of points or the number of years in our context that will be forecasted. So if my forecast or if my data ended in 2022, so you would see that the forecast will end on 2032 because that's the forecast length that I will indicate here. If you want to indicate some more years, all you have to do is add, okay, some more of the forecast length, and then just leave this buttons alone. So we have there ignore last, so just don't do that. Just don't change it, okay, because this is the essence of exponential smoothing. The idea is that ignore the last is because sometimes the last value has a major effect on the forecast. So you can tell Power BI to ignore the last point so that the last point doesn't really have an effect on much effect, I mean, on the forecast. So for now, I'll just leave it as it be because that's really the essence of forecasting. You account for everything. And then confidence interval, just leave it as at 95%. This is the common, the advisable number to put here. Then click apply. And you will see that you now manage to change or add more data points to your forecast. Now, if you want to format the forecast some more, you can, of course, change some of the details like the color of the forecast, okay, or whatever. You want it to be dashed. You want to increase the line, the thickness of the line, okay, and so on. So that's actually it. That's how to create a forecast in Power BI. And sadly, it's not really that flexible. I mean, this is all you can do. Unlike in other software that you can do some more things like regression analysis, like what I said a while ago, or maybe tweak this forecast some more. The thing is, Power BI doesn't really have that. Remember, Power BI is a data visualization tool. It's not really meant for data analytics. At least that's what I feel using Power BI. You do your analysis, Power BI will present. But of course, there are ways. You can use DAX formulas for that, and maybe that's a topic for the next, on another video. I mean, how do you make a more flexible forecast using DAX formulas in Power BI? But just to show you the functionality of this dashboard, so now we have the capability to change this, and you would see how, wow, 100% for this, or maybe they don't have any data available. But you should see now that how the forecast goes, okay, for each year's. Wow, okay, look at this one. So from 2000 to 2022, only around the value is around 22%. So it's actually quite low. And based on this forecast, it's not really going to be high anytime soon. So some countries really need help. And that's why, in order to somehow help support, so I'm inviting you guys to donate, okay, to this initiative. We only have like 28 days during the moment that I recorded this video. So if you have, just click on the button below this video and donate. Any amount will do. But for now, this is it. I hope you learned something in this video, and at the same time, I hope you saw how crucial, okay, this initiative is. Okay, but for now, that's it. If you have any questions, again, feel free to use the comment section. I'll be happy to answer as soon as I can. And of course, we would appreciate a like and subscribe in the channel if you have, if this video helped you create your forecast or have an idea on how to create a forecast. I appreciate a like and subscribe. It really help us be more encouraged to create more videos for you. But for now, this is it. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.